Hello everyone. Well, October has come and gone, and it feels like time is just going by so fast. Anyways, with October, the Paradox Life by You team has delivered on a lot of great information on their upcoming Life by You game set to release an early access version in March of 2024. Now, for those of you new to my channel, my name is Michael, and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming in Life Sims, the YouTube channel where I build worlds, lots, and share my thoughts on video games in the life simulation gaming space. Today, I want to take a moment to analyze all that we have learned about Life by You in the content that was released throughout the month of October. And since this is a recap, I'll cover a little bit of everything that we have learned so far, including the content that was published on November 3rd, so that would be just yesterday. Now with that said, I'm very excited to dive in, and I really want to talk about the first thing that we were shown, and that was the Rod Humble playthrough on October 3rd. So without further ado, let's dive into it. In Rod Humble's playthrough, the biggest takeaway that I got from watching the video is really experiencing how you can have multiple towns and how a day in the life of an office worker looks like. Well, kind of. You see, one of the observations that I had is that the character that Rod Humble had controlled, who's named Tamara, looked like she was kind of stuck due to a pathing issue. Now, I'm not trying to be overly critical on a game that is still in development, but this kind of robbed us from seeing Tamara complete any work tasks in her office job. That would have answered a lot of questions for me regarding whether or not work tasks are essentially arbitrary animations attached to preset work tasks assigned to a specific job title, as opposed to those tasks affecting the operations of a business. But I digress. Personally, I think it is more likely that completing job tasks in Life by You will indeed boil down to assigning animations to tasks. But what I would have liked to see is whether or not there are consequences for not completing them in the workday, as the Life by You character Tamara clearly accomplished none of her tasks in the day. And so I would have just liked to see if there were any consequences for that. And I think that there should be consequences for that, if I'm going to be honest. Now, moving on, I did do a full video cover on this specific playthrough, so feel free to check out that video if you wanted a more in-depth analysis. But before I move on, I did want to touch upon something that Dizzard5297 commented on in my video, and to quote them, they've said in a YouTube comment response that queuing isn't actually in the game at all, although they've said that they might revisit it during early access if there's a demand for it, which is really shocking to me. I'd love to see a video or part of one of your thoughts on this. One thing that I am trying to do better on is allowing the chips to fall before making a snap judgment. And that just kind of goes for life in general. And that is much easier said than done, of course. And, you know, honestly, this is one of those aspects of gameplay that I think we need to wait on, since I think that this is one of those gameplay mechanics that can change quite quickly up until the early access release in March of 2024. However, to go against the philosophy that I am trying to practice and embody, I will agree with Dizzard5297 and say that I strongly think that not having an action queuing system in the early access game is actually a huge mistake. We can clearly see that Rod Humble is, I don't want to say struggling, but he's definitely having to manage and really juggle a full day's worth of gameplay with just 2 Life by You human characters, as he had to keep switching between the 2 of them. Now, what makes the Sims series as a life simulation game manageable and enjoyable is the ability to queue up actions. For example, we can queue up actions in the Sims series, essentially setting it and forgetting it. Like when we send a sim to work in a rabbit hole career, we don't have to pay attention to them as much, and we can focus on other things. Now, in comparison, in Life by You, since there are no rabbit holes, it almost feels like we have to constantly monitor our Life by You human characters or have a tremendous amount of trust in our humans' autonomy, and that those behaviors will trigger appropriately to keep them alive and keep their needs managed and all of that. Now, in my opinion, there was a lot of micromanaging in Rod Humble's playthrough video, as we were jumping between Tamara and Quincy quite often. Even with Quincy, there was a lot of micromanaging on his day off, which was just him essentially lounging around the house and maybe going out to a cafe. And since rabbit holes are out of the question, I do think that there needs to be some sort of automated set of actions for when your Life by You humans go to work and such. And this is where programming these kind of behaviors and automated actions can get very complicated, since there needs to be a way where players don't feel pressured to micromanage their Life by You characters every day, or at least I think so. If we assume that we can't actually queue up actions for our Life by You human characters, and if we were playing a family household, and if there are consequences for missing work tasks and such, it would make playing a family household much more challenging, as you'd now have to line up a bunch of actions. I know that's kind of the same way as saying queue, but you'd really have to micromanage a lot of human characters in order for them to not quote unquote fail their day. Now, we take out the queuing system and add in multiple kids who need to be micromanaged in school, for example. Like, suddenly the player is forced to micromanage every facet of multiple Life by You human characters, lest there be a super sophisticated free will or autonomy system that would be playing through here. A system that I haven't seen be refined enough to really allow players to forget about other Life by You human characters in their households when they want to focus on just playing one of them. And my example for this was this playthrough. Since Quincy and Tamara both needed to be micromanaged, we kept switching between the two of them, and me as a viewer, I was hoping we would just stick with Tamara and see what her full day would really look like. But Rod Humble just kind of kept switching between Quincy and Tamara, and for one, it felt it felt a little disorienting for me, but I'm someone that can actually focus on things, so I don't this just might be my own personal preference, but I just felt like there was a lot of switching going on here, and yeah, it just felt a little disorienting to me, and I was kind of wondering if that kind of gameplay is something that we can expect in the early access, because I do think that it would overwhelm players if they have to constantly switch between their Life by You human characters to play each hour throughout the day. Like, you set an action for one character, switch to the other, switch to the other, and switch to the other, and then just kind of press play after you've lined up an action for each of them to do. But if you don't have that queuing system available, then you can't line up multiple actions, and you might need to achieve multiple actions within that hour. So, if somebody is, for example, working their job and also needing to use the bathroom, if you're not able to queue those two actions of like completing a short work task and then using the bathroom, are you suddenly like, if the behavior autonomy system isn't sophisticated to pick up on the fact that Life by You human character needs to use the bathroom, then it's kind of like then you're really forcing the players to micromanage their human characters in a way that I think that would overwhelm a lot of players, because you'd have to micromanage it down to the hour, or at least that's how I kind of feel here. Now, I just want to give a quick disclaimer before we move on. Like, Paradox has told us that kids in schools won't likely be in the early access version as far as I am aware. But that's the direction that this game will be heading in when it comes to the first launch, and that's why I used that family example a little earlier on. Like, I'll continue to bring up the necessity of an action queuing system as I continue to analyze these Life by You content releases up until the release date and beyond. But, I've kind of spoken enough about this. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, so let's move on. The next piece of content that was released in October was the Q&A video on building. And this was yet another video that I actually analyzed and thoroughly talked about in a previous video of mine, where I really specifically focused on analyzing like what unlimited floors really means for players in the game. So feel free to check out that video if you would like to hear a more thorough analysis of it. And I guess this video really will serve as one where I get to express reluctances and regrets from that video, but if I could go back and do that video over again, I would actually like to bring up the idea of player choice more often in that analysis. I think that honestly my point still stands that if a video game is allowing their players a limitless floor count, then the game mechanics need to be able to actually support any kind of game choice that a player makes with this gameplay option. And that would include being able to offer a game that can support a player that chooses to create several 30 to 60 floor skyscrapers smoothly. I get it. City play isn't everyone's cup of tea, but when you're giving players the option to actually have that kind of gameplay in their game, then the foundation of your game needs to be able to support it. The vision of Life by You can't be too big for its britches, or however that old saying goes. Like, you can't deliver a game to players with gamer laptops having their games crash because the game can't support all of the features it offers. That was a huge problem in The Sims 3. I mean, error code 11, 12, or 13, anyone? Remember those days? There was also a really great point made on my video from Gemsticks in that Rod Humble and the team confirmed that a universal basic income is present in the early access and beyond. I completely forgot about that mechanic, and I think that it serves as a way to help balance the game and to make it playable for players that are adding a lot of Life by You character humans into their game without needing to create jobs for them specifically. And just to add on to that analysis on how that would work in reverse, I want to share an example. So let's just say that we wanted to build a fun seashell store on the beach, selling beachcombing troves. What is suggested to be the case is that players can just use their active Life by You human to interact with the register to purchase whatever they want, as we have seen Rod do in previous playthroughs, like in the bars and in the restaurants and such. In this example, I can honestly see how an empty register functioning as the cashier can solve the problem of needing an actual Life by You human cashier, townie, NPC, or whatever to live in your neighborhood and actually fill that function. Cool. But this mechanic doesn't seem to carry over to like office types of businesses or even like emergency services like firefighters and such, since they fundamentally function differently. Therefore, I do have to question like if office type businesses will remain vacant until a Life by You human character actually starts working there. And when they do, does that automatically make them the boss? Probably not. Now, if we take this very same scenario back to the Sims series, specifically in The Sims 3, what would happen is that a townie would spawn and they would automatically be assigned to your Sims boss with a seemingly random job title. And they would likely live in an apartment rabbit hole lot that came with late night, since that seems to be where they just kind of like to chill unless there's like an empty lot in your world. However, if this scenario played out in Life by You, from what I understand about Life by You, the player would likely have to assign them a house, or they would be randomly assigned a house to live in. Now please keep in mind, I'm just speculating based on what I know, but I would like to think that if Life by You human characters needed co-workers or bosses to interact with in an office type job, that it directly creates like a housing need on some level. And this isn't necessarily unique for city players either. Like if you had a small office built in your town, then this need could also apply there as well. And this theory could also apply to emergency service jobs such as firefighters and law enforcement. I mean, where will those Life by You NPCs and townies live? And we haven't even confirmed if emergency service jobs are even in the early access game, and I'm suspecting that they're not, but that should be safe for a whole other video, I suppose. Now granted, I have discussed this numerous times before that some players would just shove these NPCs and townies into a random house and call it a day, and that is a viable solution. And there is a household manager to assign townies a home. I've never denied those as viable solutions, but my question has always been, when are townies and NPCs actually required in this game? Because you can shove them all into homes and call it a day, but if you reach the maximum amount of households within a single home, well then that suddenly creates a need to build another house to shove townies into. Now, if we combine that problem space with the fact that there is a limitless floor count, it suggests that this game could honestly be huge. And I do have to wonder if Life by You can actually support those player gameplay choices if players choose to have larger games? Can the game actually support that gameplay choice that players could make? And that was really the biggest question that I had when I came to this particular Q&A video for build mode. And maybe I'm just left a little scarred and traumatized from The Sims 3 and all of those error codes whenever we would go to save. But, you know, I just can't help but think that there's a lot of opportunities for errors there. And I'm not trying to talk something into existence here, because that would be something I would really don't want to do. But you know, we've been through this problem before in previous franchises, and I just can't help but feel that that the problem needs to be looked at again. Like, if we're aware of something, we do have the power to make a change there. So that was really my point that I just wanted to add on to this Q&A building video that I didn't mention in my last video. So yeah, that's kind of some new thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys there. But let's move on now to the crafting videos. After watching both of the crafting videos, I gotta say I was really impressed with the UI. The references that were used to develop the crafting UI really impressed me, even though I don't know what those references were, but the references that they used, you know, well done, Life by You. That was great. It really impressed me because it feels like the Paradox Life by You team really future-proofed their crafting UI, and that they could easily add on to those gameplay features if they so chose to do so. It looked easy to use, and that's what impressed me the most. And I also have to say as well, I've been really enjoying the icons that they have been that they've been placing, like for food and for the crafting items and such. I really actually like that direction that they took artistically with that, or with the style, I suppose. I've always liked it. I just never really picked up on it, or never really mentioned it until now. Anyways, like, I really didn't feel like my thoughts and opinions on the crafting system could really add onto like more than what was already being showcased in the videos, which is why I have saved that discussion for this video, since my thoughts can be concisely summarized, or at least what I think is concise anyways. I'm a little bit long-winded. Essentially, like, after watching those videos, like, you can find troves in the world you play in, you can craft them, and you can also start a business or a career based off of them. This is cool and very reminiscent of the gathering and alchemy system introduced in the Sims 3 Supernatural expansion pack, but it feels cleaner and better to me just seeing it here. And by the way, like, I never really got into the gathering and alchemy of the Sims 3 Supernatural, but I have a lot of respect for that gameplay mechanic, and I know that there are some players out there that really enjoyed it. So slowly but surely, like, I have been sort of playing around with those gameplay aspects, but since I'm so busy with creating the SimCity world and doing speed builds for it, I haven't really had a chance to really explore that kind of gameplay. Hopefully I will before I do a Sims 3 franchise review way down the road. Anyways, I think that, like, with crafting, there are truly endless possibilities that could be explored, and I think that the Life by You team is certainly keen on keeping this gameplay feature very open, and so this leads me to believe that they will continue to expand upon the gameplay feature in future DLCs or expansion packs. And I'm not trying to say like it doesn't feel like there will be enough content in it as it is right now. I actually think the opposite. I think that the crafting system here is very robust, and you know, it doesn't necessarily need an expansion pack to expand the gameplay or to make the gameplay appealing, but yeah, I really like what I saw there. Now, will I be necessarily gravitating towards this kind of gameplay? Well, no, but I do feel that from what I have seen so far that it is very well done. I will share that on one hand, I feel like this game just keeps getting bigger and bigger, but on the other hand, I also feel like if The Sims 3 could establish a relatively balanced inventory system and gathering system, that it is certainly possible for Life by You to also have one as well and to grow with it too. Now let's move on to the boutique hotel tour that published on November 3rd. So in this case, at the time of recording this video, it would have been last Friday. And the reason why I want to touch upon it is because, well, I really don't have too much to say about it. Alright, so in the video we kind of see Katie, the Life by You human character, changing the bed sheets, but in my opinion, we really didn't learn anything new about the boutique hotel per se and how it functions. We just got a good look at how the lot is designed within the game, which is fine if the intended purpose is just to give players a look at one of the lots that will be coming with the world. But it does kind of emphasize how we, the players, need to know more about how jobs and careers will work. Specifically, I want to know if all types of employment centers can run themselves without the player having to design a job tree. For example, like if you needed to cover certain functions within a business with a job tree, such as making sure that you had like a housekeeping job tree to be able to cover all of your housekeeping needs within a boutique hotel. And the reason why this is important to know is that this is an aspect of gameplay that will impact the average player's playing experience of Life by You. Instead of just designing that cafe, throwing in a register and calling it a day, maybe there's something more to that players really have to design. Like, do you need to design a manager job tree? You know, it's just a question that I want to have answered. I'm not necessarily looking for a specific kind of answer. I'm just looking for what the answer actually is. So yeah, other than that, like, I'm really not walking away with too much of learning anything new from the latest boutique hotel tour. I thought that the lot was nice. I thought that it was designed very well. I enjoyed it, but I just didn't learn anything new. And I really, I honestly really didn't feel the need to like gas it up or to feed into the hype or just to like blindly like hype it up or whatnot, since, honestly speaking, and I'm not trying to knock anyone here, but there are plenty of channels that will take the 10 minutes out of your day or whatever to really repeat what they see on screen. And honestly, like, good for them. Glad that they are doing that kind of a thing. It's not my vibe, so that's why I just choose not to do it if I'm not learning something new from something, or if there's a piece of content that's really just not speaking to me, like, I'm just going to choose not to speak on it. But yeah, if there are players out there, there are prospective players out there that really enjoy the hype, and there's nothing wrong with that either, but it's just not a vibe that I really feed into unless there's something that does really impress me or something. This was one of those lot tours where I just was like, okay, it's cool and all that. And if I'm really going to compare different pieces of content, then the tour that we were given here with the boutique hotel, I felt it was a little less impactful than the other lot tours, because the other lot tours that were released by Life by You, being the gym and the grocery store, and there might be another one, I could be forgetting it, but those are released at a time where we really didn't know much about the Life by You game, whereas we know a lot more now. So there's different questions that are being asked by players now, or at least I have different questions. So yeah, if you are looking for a moment to like a video to really kind of get caught up in the excitement, to like explore new ideas and all that, well, this is not the video for that. I'm not trying to blindly hype something up, where I'm trying to learn more about the game before trying to, feed into something and like put ideas into people's heads that may not come to be. I try to stay I'm trying my best to stay objective when it comes to analyzing Life by You. So yeah, this lot tour wasn't really my cup of tea. I thought that the lot was nicely designed. I just need to learn more about how jobs actually function at this point, and that's kind of where I'm at. And if you thought that the crafting reflections were short, well, this one is, well, just as short, I'm afraid. So yeah, at this time, I want to hear what you have to think about what we have learned about Life by You in October. Like, what got you most excited about Life by You this month? Was there a small but important detail in the boutique hotel tour video that I may have missed that warrants more discussion? Are you, like me, having more questions about how jobs work and how jobs may impact your world? Well, comment below with your thoughts. And until next time, I just want to thank you for watching. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, then feel free to like this video and consider subscribing to Sovereign Gaming and Life Sims if you haven't already done so. Anyways, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.